So the first thing I did when looking at coming back into this first floor and starting to look at this area back here were these stairs to the basement. And this was just a quick look at whether or not we could use a ship's ladder for that instead of that stair, because ship's ladder shall be permitted, and it's not a part of this egress or anything like that, as long as we have 20 inches between the handrails, and the handrails have to be provided on both sides of those ship's ladders. And then it also becomes a case of, can your furnace equipment, if it's 20 inches, if it's wider than 20 inches, it's not going to fit down there. So that furnace equipment would almost have to be specified before any kind of a call was made on whether that stairwell is modified at all. Because if we use one of these ship's ladders, and we take that 20-inch minimum width between the handrails, and then the handrails need 1.5 inches between them and any walls they go in front of. But the handrails themselves can be 2x2s. So you got 20-inch width between the handrails, and then the 2x2 on each side, because they want them on both sides, bring it to 23, and the 1.5 inch clearance at the wall. So the upshot of all of that means that you can accomplish this stairwell down here as a ship's ladder, presumably, I'm going to model that in a minute and see, in about 26 inches of space. Currently we're using quite a bit more than that. So we're using 37, so there's almost a foot to be gained if there's not a lot of heavy travel to the basement. Presumably the two things in the basement would be the water heater, the gas meter, and the furnace, because I would think that we would have the panels up here somewhere, the electric panels. So I want to think about that. I'll be working with this existing thing first, because I'm not sure that the ship's ladder will give us an advantage. But I wanted to look at that going in. But that was yesterday, and then this will be the rest of this film, was the development of this area and anything associated with it. We wanted to look at development in that basement in the event that we did have ship's ladder stairs coming down. Apparently this is when I did this, which was still yesterday, considering what kind of access we're going to need to that basement and what kind of equipment you're going to have in the basement. These red things were our mechanical chases, our mechanical chase availabilities, and that's where they were down here. So because of the plumbing, that one gets readjusted, and we have the gas meter down there, and the access is actually there, so that one actually gets readjusted as well, and those two up there get skinnied down as well. So, but that's our remaining available chases to the second floor, something like that. I mean, they're full size up in here, it's a full 10 inches up in here, but there's probably a choke point of 8 inches downstairs. And then I wasn't sure what kind of equipment you're going to use. I think the water meter is here. I know the gas meter is here. I tried to figure out who was your gas supplier in case they're going to require that to be moved outside. But they don't come in to read either of those meters anymore anyway, so they don't really need easy access. And a lot of this is irrelevant, because I never do modify the width of that stairwell. This is already a ship's ladder going down, so we can't make it any more dangerous. So that is just going to stay anyway. But we eliminated a lot of those chimneys, so I show a 90% plus efficiency gas forced air furnace venting out through sidewalls. And I show an electric water heater, or that can be one of these high efficient water heaters as well. Because I don't know that we have a path to the chimney or to the roof from here without utilizing one of those chimneys that we've taken down. There is still the one at the front. Nope, that's been taken down too. So there's no chimneys left to work with. Okay, now I took a little side trick because I was wondering about the venting of this toilet here, represented by this dot here, and that was going to be a close call upstairs. So at that, particularly because of this pocket door coming back there. So if I left that pocket door in, move everything back, including the framing, to where it needs to be, and it can't go on that side because it can't go that far this way. So it's that side or nothing. So I pushed it that way and ate up some more of that mechanical space. So that upstairs, these 30-inch shelves were preserved, and that's about the only available pathway for that to get up to the roof, for that vent, for that first floor toilet to get up to the roof. But that probably won't matter down the road. And yeah, that's already a ship's ladder more or less, and we're not going to really be able to improve on that and help ourselves too much at the first floor. But you do notice that this door here, this wall, looks to me like it could move forward some. But leaving that aside for a moment and looking at this first floor, beginning to look at the area that exists without paying attention to that, because as I said, I would see what we could do with that in its place. So coming up here, I started with this pantry over there, a 42-inch pantry, and then I put a closet in behind the entrance to the thing, I put a closet in behind the rear entrance. There is a fight kind of with those doors, and so I built out that whole west wall like this. That was called 501C. And I assumed a dishwasher would be in there, so that is included, and that's what it's built on, and everything going forward is built on that. And you see at that pantry, I took that down from 42 to 39 right away, so I could get a window and a couple flanking cabinets in. But then I built the rest of that bank like that. And whether this pantry would lap over the casing like this at a full depth, or whether that steps back and gets behind the casing, 21 inches deep, ignore those numbers. But then after, say that happens up there, is what I was thinking. I still have all this stuff to fit in here, and I started by working with trying to get the laundry down in here. And notice this is going to be the wall construction between these two buildings. Over here it's fine with the double brick, but over here this is what it's going to consist of, because we did this before. We really only needed 5.5 inches of wall, framed wall, but I have put in 2 3.5-inch framed walls with the person staggering that framing and then using that Roxul, and that will sound insulate this as well. Now I can't remember, I don't think that Roxul was required by code, but the 2 layers of gypsum wallboard is. But I started by trying to put the laundry machines down there and ended up with something like this, and I was working with whether this doorway to the stairwell will open that way, and I don't want to waste time with this. But because I was already a pinch point, then I looked at that wall again, whether that could be moved forward. Well, I know it can. So I moved it forward about 4 inches, and we ended up with that. And then I made it 30 inches wide. But then I knew that I wanted to gain some space, and I felt like this was expendable space here. So I dropped that wall down, and again, worked with this laundry machines over here. And that wasn't so right. So I started by saying, okay, I'm not sure about that closet up there. And we go to plan C2. The closet, and I think, well, maybe the refrigerator goes up behind the door. I'm not too keen on that either. So, and you can just see kind of what is happening as I go along here. That is a 37-inch clearance path there, and this is a standard depth refrigerator, 36 wide with a standard depth, which is almost 36 as well. And right away I didn't think that was this pantry. This refrigerator, I put panels on the side of it with this cabinet over, 18-inch high by 24-inch deep cabinet over. That's how I treated that. I mean, I really maximized a lot of cabinetry in here, I confess. Some of that can go away, I suppose. But right now I have a cabinet over this refrigerator, a full depth cabinet over that refrigerator. And what was missing from down here really is counter space, more than anything. This is good for cleanup and all that, and this is good cooking space here. But we need some wide drawers or something to hold pots and pans. So I put a 30-inch cabinet in beside that refrigerator, standard 24-inch depth. Then I needed to push that over some, so I finally relented and got away from this 28-inch wide door and went to a 24-inch wide closet there, because we have kind of an overflow closet here for brooms and whatnot on this little landing area before you go down the stairs. So I took that down to a 24-inch door so that I get that refrigerator more toward the kitchen, toward the center of that kitchen. And then this window, I went to a double hung window there, which is more traditional. Put a wall cabinet over that. And this kitchen starts building out pretty nice. And what I did with the rest of this, I don't know if Dayton has recycling, it doesn't really matter, but I used 2 wastebasket bases here. These are vanity wastebasket bases, so they're only 21 inches deep. I don't know if those are, a good size to serve kitchen for recycles and trash or not. In any event, I'm showing 2 15-inch wide cabinets, and there's still 31 inches here. So those can go to 18, and this is still going to be a knee space here. But I have this open under here for whatever, you could have dog dishes or something like this. And I kind of just adjusted that a little, and I actually added little flanking cabinets here because this didn't look very good. It just looked kind of empty. Start getting some of these dimensions in here. This laundry facility, 4 feet in front of the machines is nice, but I think the advantage of having the machines themselves, even if this goes down to 3 feet by the time you get those machines installed, that's going to be enough to serve the purposes of this particular apartment. It's just 2 bedrooms. That much said, a person could definitely get creative with backing these machines into this stairwell some and just having plywood on the back or something like that. So there is 4 or 5 inches to be had there as well. The window over here, that had been shown as some sort of a double casement, which is what was there now. That's getting replaced, and I made that's 30, made that a little more narrow at 27, so that we could accomplish the things down through here. And that's still centered on that same opening. So that should be doable within 2 or 3 inches, one way or the other. That particular 9'3" bank of cabinets here. And here's some of the other dimensions. And this is where I put in these little flanking cabinets. Because you could have water here for coffee maker. This could be a whole coffee bar type thing. But I wanted a place for a person to sit down in the kitchen and have coffee if they wanted to in the kitchen. So that's what I'm showing. At the end of the day, this can just be a framed wall just like this one is. It can come over here and go against here, no window at all. It can just be closet or pantry space. Certainly, though, I favor that. Then I moved that door over this way, the laundry door. I switched to the other side so that we would have some space for switches on this wall, because this brick is kind of at least a switch. So I'd done that so we'd have a switch here, or space for a switch there. Kind of concluded C2, probably something like this. And then I went to C3 because this is a little door vet sink. They're only $120 or $30 with a single faucet on it. And I think this actually works better. The door's 2'4". I mean, if it's not a big deal, you could make that 2 foot too. But there's plenty of room for a person to get in here and close that door behind them. So that's what I did there. And it could be that mechanical space isn't even needed, in which case you could even use a larger pedestal lav here, which is what I would favor doing if it was possible. If this mechanical space would go away, I would put a nice pedestal lavatory there. And then the next thing that happens, we go from C3, this laundry door, this was getting, I thought this might work better as a pocket door. Of course, that does complicate our electric here. It means that somebody's going to dig out some plaster here and brick and get a switch in on this wall here at this location. Because I favored the pocket door just because this just kind of gets clogged up in the laundry room maybe. And you're feeling me, you may differ on that. But I went to a pocket door, and when I did that, I actually widened that room some more. You can see it shift here, because we still have a lot of room between these here. So that widened out by 3 or 4 inches. And then this thing here still has to shift that far over, and it becomes a smaller door. The last one was 32. This goes down to 28, and it needs to go all the way over there in order to be framed in like that with this 5'1" finished width. And again, switch one to be dug out into this wall, which that's not too big of a problem because you got this mechanical space to bring your wire to it. So that's not the end of the day. I just think probably the pocket door is going to be a more effective solution there. And I believe that's how that finishes out. And these were the elevations at a certain point. Maybe there's a few little changes after that. But that kitchen ceiling is just a little bit more than maybe 91 inches. Maybe 91.5 inches. So 90-inch kitchen would do it with whatever sort of trim you want to use. And we just have this one tall cabinet here. So it's not out of the realm that all of this cabinetry could be just pushed up to the ceiling. I'm showing a little piece of trim at the top, but it's possible that's all just pushed to the ceiling because that ceiling should be pretty flat. And there might be an argument, by the way, for this, everything that happens on the first floor, and I think there is a good argument, I think that should be done, is that all these lintels on the first floor anyway should be made like these, where it's trimmed off like that, peak to match the rest of the first floor. This is over-the-range microwave. That's, to me, the best way to do this. I mean, there is room in the kitchen probably to squeeze a microwave somewhere else in, but I started with this, and this is an exhaust hood as well. That exhaust goes right up through the roof, just like the dryer vent. This is looking at that wall with that door to the little closet. And that was before I added those, and they don't need to be added because people could put any kind of art here. Anything can happen here. So these two are just extra kind of cabinets there, aren't really needed. And this is the boring elevation. And this was before I moved that to a pocket door. So this became a more slender pocket door. So there's a lot more wall space here in terms of art. And a person has to decide where they want to put this panel. In this final analysis, it's not going to be close enough for they might allow you to put that electric panel just inside this here, which would be definitely what I would prefer. And we could see what the limit is. I think it's 6 foot inside the house, and we have 2 foot. And we know this is 4'2", so we're 6 right about here. So I don't know if they'll let you go 7 and have it there, or whether it's going to be out here somewhere. That is that, and this will be a walkthrough of both those floors as they exist now. The development yesterday, changing up on the second floor yesterday, and this development on the first floor today. And I won't be talking anymore, so thanks very much, and I look forward to what you have to say.